Intermission. And we're back.
Yes, a bit longer than intermission. Was it 10 minutes? 12?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we had to talk to Algot a bit, but he's gone. So he's off to do whatever he's doing, and we're back, and we're going to finish the Hawke Q&A. Hopefully you guys will be back in chat momentarily. So if you've got questions about the hammer or speculations, because we were just talking about the hammer, we'll go on about that.
Do questions after the Hawke. Hopefully the Hawke Q&A doesn't go as long as the hammerhead one did.
Yep. Well, I think that was definitely the more passionate one, and it's the one people are going to be more passionate about because it's quite a powerful ship. Let's be honest.
And there was no surprises there. I mean, everything what we saw was, what we expected, sort of ballpark.
I'm gonna be honest, I was slightly surprised by the size 4's guns. I didn't realize they were size 4.
I mean, do we really expect them to give a real answer about the hole in the chip? No. We fully expected them to fob off with a bullshit excuse from, That's what
especially if they're kind of what do you call it? If it does have a vehicle or ship going into it, then maybe they don't want to share that until such time as they concept it. But
I think it's one of those.
I think it's a long shot. I really do.
Decisions, and that's just what it is.
I think maybe they played with putting something in it at some point, and the flaps have just remained. I think that might just be
afterthought.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a Hawke Q&A, so we better get on to it. This is Inforunners episode, is it 50 now, I think? Yeah. Big 5-0. Anyway, going into the Q&A straight up. Let's not waste any time.
Yeah, go for
it. Can we swap the holding cell for other equipment? No. Should I read the rest? It's like
I did hear a rumor about possibly it's a bed you can sleep in, so yeah, read the rest.
Okay. The holding cell in the Hawke is integrated specifically into its design. The Hawke is a small, focused ship. In general, modularity in engineering implies a bunch of things, including piping and plumbing. I sure hope they have plumbing for those prisoners.
Yeah, it's a hose. Or just a bottle.
Yeah, hose it out afterwards. Oh, jeez. Structural load bearing and a bunch of other considerations designed to handle the different equipment of varied capabilities. That stuff doesn't come free in terms of weight, cost, or complexity. Hence why not every internal space is just automatically modular by nature. So it was no. Jeez, I got it right the first time.
I'm just kind of thinking about, though, can you imagine actually waking up in the back of that and like it's pulling G's or something? That would be utterly terrifying. It'd be almost like akin to waking up in a coffin.
Yeah, no windows, no nothing. It's just,
No.
But, there's a bit of romantic behind that. It's like, the next time you see the light, you'll be walking out to the prison or something,
It'd be cool if there was a camera, though, and you could, like, I know they're not going to put it in because it'll be an NPC or whatever, like, it'll turn into a piece of cargo, but it'd be cool if you could actually look at a camera and see, like, them in night vision going.
But it's amazing, like, the first sentence, or the first word is no, and then they spend 6 lines saying fancy no. It's like, they could have just put no and just gone to the next question.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, speaking of next question, go on to it.
How many total weapon types and sizes is the Hawke supposed to have? Ship stats? You're not telling us the truth? What? Break my heart? Okay, the Hawke has 4 S2 and 2 S1 weapon hardpoints with 1 small EMP device. That's better than we thought it was.
Just a quick question. Do you think the chat is frozen? Because nothing's coming up in the chat yet. I think at least one person would have talked by now. Do you find that a bit strange? Do you maybe want to restart it, see if something's amiss there?
No, we haven't had anyone answer the chat. We lost all our chat people.
Yeah, because everyone left.
Yeah, everyone left.
6 watching, so no one's... So if anyone's in chat, shoot us a message. I just want to see that it's working, because it's making me paranoid. Maybe you can test it, then we'll know.
Yeah, there you go.
Nothing's come up. Oh, no, there we go. Oh, wow, and then all of those came up. Look, see? It was bugged. I knew it. See? My paranoia is verified. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised at the number of guns it goes. I think that's an increase. Didn't we say that they were only size 1s?
Yes, originally I thought 4 S1s and 2 S2s, though it came with 6 S1s stock. So this is like a huge mix-up in the stat tables. Again, COG, what are you thinking? When you sell these ships, do your homework and get the ship matrix right. Is that too hard to ask?
Does that also mean with the Dire Hawke that the 2 S1s become 6 S2s in total? Because they say they or does that mean just
don't go there?
Is it just a limited edition and it's a skin like the Saber comment? Like, see, I've just thrown it up in the air now.
Don't go there. Let's just say no. We don't want to speculate on something that's as hazy as that. Ha. Yeah. Anyway, that 4S2s and 2S1 is a huge improvement. That puts it well above the Avenger in its firepower. And this is no longer an advanced starter. This seems more, it has some bite to it now. Like, I would consider this 4S2s and 2S1s is Superiority Fighter level of weaponry.
It's above the now above the Avenger by quite a bit actually.
It's above the Gladius. I hate to tell you.
No, isn't the Gladius
one size 3, 2 size 2? This is above.
No, it didn't. No, the Gladius is now size 3, mate.
No, that's what, all size 3. It's still comparable. This has got a little bit more firepower. Think about it.
4S2
and 2S1. You're talking about 6 guns. It's like.
Look.
Do the math
I really haven't done the math. You'd be better off to do it than I, because I know this is your forte. But I'm not really kind of up to how much more powerful an S3 is than an S2 as an example. Is it like
okay. If you think of size 1 is 100% and a size 2 is 225% and then a size 3, well, we don't have any of those, so don't go there. But basically, it's about 1,100 in value, damage DPS wise. If I recall, Super Hornet with its stock loadout weapons is about 1,200.
Right.
And, this is more firepower than a Saber, and this is slightly less than a Super Hornet. This actually has excellent firepower for a ship, and so like before the sale, everyone thought this was like as good as an Avenger with regards to firepower. If these stats in the QEA is right, this actually has some kick-ass firepower now, as opposed to an advanced starter level ship. This is actually superiority level firepower, which makes it. This is a completely different ship than what we thought it was.
Yeah. Okay. All right. In that case, that's a good thing to hear then. In my opinion,
it is a good thing.
It means this is a better price ship, but I think
this came out
to say the Gladius is still stronger because, well, or is it equal? Because when we talked about it, the Gladius is $90. Its original concept was $80, so that means that this is a concept. This is an equal price ship to the Gladius. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I would.
So
I think the Gladius is more maneuverable with less firepower. This has more firepower, but is less maneuverable. So like this is a military grade ship now.
I thought this would be a really maneuverable ship. But the fact, oh man, when you count the MP, that gets scary, doesn't it?
This is like a Saber Raven now, level 5 power with EMP, as opposed to a cheaper Avenger variant. So maybe this is the counter to the Raven.
Read the next question, and it gets even scarier.
Oh goodness! But this is good news. This is
great news.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's too little, too late. They should have put this information out early, and people would have been all hyped about it. And now the sale's over. People might not even read this Q&A.
The sale for the hammer and this are still not over, by the way. You can still buy them for up to a week. It was a week or 10 days after the 4th. So you've still got time.
Yes.
Anyway, read the next question because I think you'll find that'll.
Okay, is the EMP from the Hawke as strong as the EMP from the Raven? Ooh. At present, we expect the EMP on the Hawke to be in the same neighborhood and effectiveness as one of the Ravens. The Raven has 2, though. A balance pass is scheduled for 2018, and this information may change. That's still interesting. That's still really interesting. Yeah, that's because really this ship is like way more attainable for one, and it's half the price of a Saber. Yeah. That's scary. I'm liking this ship more and more I hear about it, you know? When will the variants... Don't say anything. We might have to buy one for Dyson. Yeah. Well, I think I suddenly that Intel Optane drive doesn't sound as tasty as it was, a couple moments ago. Yeah, Snake. Yeah, Snake. Algrid got one too. He can't even use the drive. It's like he just wanted the ship. I might talk to Algrid, see if I can buy it off him. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, I do like the drive. I want the drive more than the ship. Yep, me too.
Me too. Or maybe you'll beat me to the punch. All right. Yeah, okay.
Variants.
Do you want me to read the next one?
Yeah, go for it.
When will the variants become available that are mentioned in the brochure? The variants are described in the brochure are ships that exist in the fiction of Star Citizen universe. Currently, there are no plans to implement these variants. Let's see how much you'll like the original Hawke for starters.
That's a fair answer. They're really just fictional.
It is, but if you get extra hard points on the Dire Hawke, why the hell would you buy the normal one?
Yeah, well, there's your answer. You don't, because it's fictional.
Yeah, and what was the other one? The stealth version. And I wonder. It makes me wonder. Like, did you actually watch the ATV where they talk about the Hawke? Because in the photos, it's very Super Hornet color aesthetics, but in the concepts, he actually deliberately talks about it as black with gold tint. Have you seen that picture at all? And that's now what I think the stealth variant might be. Yeah, the Shadow Hawke.
It sounds like they did it just to flesh out the lore, though, and like I don't think they're gonna. Like I said, it's fictional. It's not going to be something they provide. So, I'm happy they answered that though, because that was another interesting question.
Well, yeah, everyone was asking, waiting for why and when and all that stuff.
And considering the way the ship is turning out now, I think they would have been popular too. So it's a shame. But anyway, will the Hawke fit inside a Carrick? Had to ask a mini Carrick question. Considering that both ships are in production at the moment, we do not have the final dimensions of each ship and can't definitively answer this yet. That said, it is unlikely, as the Carrick's hangar is designed to fit the ship the size of a snubcraft. There you go.
That also poses the next question: are you possibly going to be able to change the snubcraft in the Carrick? But I reckon we'll be able to. I reckon. Anyway,
we'll see. There's a lot of things that people think it's going to be. I wonder what it's going to be. But anyway, brochure mentions gun rack. Where is it located? It's behind the deployable pilot seat. I'd hate to have to crash land and get out and not be able to get your gun before you get
Does that mean you
by alien life.
I can't really do it in the chair I'm at the moment. Does that mean you can spin the chair around and then grab your guns and then spin back and then get out, or is it just like a reach over?
Yeah, it might be a reach over. Like if once the seat comes down, it's on the hull or something. I don't know.
Oh, on the back of it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That's really cool, actually. I think that's really clever. I was going to say hold F and do a 360 rotate. You know how you with the inner thought system. But no, your idea makes way more sense.
That's a huge advantage compared to most superiority fighters. They don't have gun racks. You know. Yeah. So this is actually a really good thing. I mean, that's one of the things people really bitched and moaned about on the Buccaneer. I
have to say my interest from the ship has gone from like here to...
Yeah, and it makes sense. If you're a bounty hunter, taking your sidearm's important. You know, that's part of your job. So, you know, I'm glad they've done this.
Also does lead it well to the bounty hunter aesthetic, because you can picture now landing on the ground, swiveling around, picking up a gun and hitting off on pursuit. So, yeah.
It was mentioned in the ATV that the prisoner transport pod could be used as a bed for the pilot. Is this the case? Yes. It is possible that the pilot could use this as a bed, although probably a bit claustrophobic. It's like, you know, you get in, and then you drop your keys as you go into the thing. Let me out.
Oh, there's probably some kind of panel, but there's
you got the electric car key.
If there's a panel in there that you can put a code in to let yourself out, maybe the pirate can hack his way out if he can guess the code.
Yeah, and get it in and jettison into space. Just make sure to take his helmet off first.
I think though they've said though once you turn into like they get you into the ship, you instantly respawn and that body becomes a piece of cargo. So I think there won't be any need for
it's not much fun going around because you know you could stop by a bar for a couple hours before you turn in your prisoner, and you know you'd hate to have to wait for that bullshit. Yeah, that makes sense.
Star Citizen 890J asks, anyone know the live stream date yet? Well, it's usually on a Friday, so it's typically, I can't quite remember dates. I think it's the 15th or the 22nd are the two most likely dates at this point, buddy. Next question.
How do the defensive features, example, the shields, armor, countermeasures of the Hawke compared to other light fighters such as the Gladius, Mustang Delta, and Defender? Anvil designed the Hawke so, as you'd expect, it's reasonably durable, which is not what they said before, but at least as light as fighters go. In this respect, we plan for it to have tougher armor than the Gladius, Mustang Delta, and the Defender. That makes sense, though, because, like...
Well, the others have got... Defender's got shields.
Yeah, it's not supposed to have heavy armor, and the Mustang Delta's a starter ship, so you'd hope it has better armor than that.
The interesting thing there is it's weaker than the Sabre, because that's not mentioned.
They mentioned the Gladius
technically
is
Sabre's not a heavy
armor.
It's
not a heavy fighter either, but its shield
But
generators.
I didn't know the Defender was considered a light fighter though either. I thought the Defender was a heavy fighter.
It's a superiority based fighter. It is, but its shields are at strong point. Its armor is not. So yeah. Its shield generators are presently intended to be similar in performance to those of a Gladius, which is fair for its size. While the Hawke carries on more armor, because I mean, if it's less maneuverable than a Gladius and a Sabre, and you know, you'd want a little more armor, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
To be able to take the hits. The Mustang Delta's defenses include a larger store of countermeasures. That's interesting. But
yeah,
you know,
this ship's really going up in interest for me. Like that makes it sound like it's better than the Gladius. Like. I know they're kind of on par with guns, but like when you count the armor, I think you're right. I think it's definitely the Gladius is going to be more maneuverable. That's that seems obvious. But oh wow, like I'm looking at this. Are you looking at it in a whole new light? Like it seems.
Yeah. It's like bounty hunting. The only options is like the Avenger. Then you go to the Cutlass, right? I think. Maybe the Hornet could be good because you can fit cargo. You could put maybe the turret or something. But you know, there's not many options, is there?
I think like the EMP is the thing that really tips this ship in my favor for me. Like it just same level guns as the Gladius almost, and then an
better
EMP
than the Gladius
and more. Oh, it's crazy.
This is well positioned ship.
Is this one of those things where they chuck out a ship late in development for pay to win? Like does it feel like
if they'd done that, they should have released this information at the start of the sale and not right at the end of the sale. I feel like there's so much lost sales they could have, if they'd really pushed this a little bit better with someone with a better, you know.
And we won't even get started on it again if it came with a game package, because open another can of worms.
Okay, what's the heaviest armor a player can wear while operating the Anvil Hawke? This is interesting because most fighters don't let you wear armor, too much at least. As is standard for most single-seat fighters, this is a flight suit. A player will be able to store a small personal loadout in the ship, the aforementioned gun rack, so they can quickly gear up for FPS action. Doesn't tell you much. I mean, if you could put armor next to the gun rack, that would have been good.
I didn't know we can put armor. I was gonna say, can you put armor in gun racks?
I wonder.
Because if that's the case, man, this ship just went up again. Because the only other ships that can do that are like Vanguards.
So I imagine you might be able to wear a light armor, you know, but probably not much more than that. Is the Hawke going to be fast-tracked in development, or is this going to be further down the road for getting in-game? Interesting question. Generally speaking, smaller ships are simple, easier to make, and ships without interior spaces are easier still. From a development perspective, the Hawke has fewer obstacles to production than larger ships with traversable interiors, and is therefore likely to be in-game sooner. This is true.
I'm going to make a quick call here. Terrapin almost wrapped up. Carrick is started and halfway through next year. Those art assets done. I can't see this not being done. It started by at least halfway through the year. I don't know. It might be one of those things where they just keep doing small ships while they're getting the big ones done. Because there's obviously going to be gaps in the development, as in they're getting all the Aegis ones done. So But Anvil does need probably one. Yeah, maybe this is probably the only other chip they really need, to be honest.
But still, like I said, it's not going to be a 4-year wait like a Hello Reclaimer. But I could see them getting this under production in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I don't know if it'd be finished by this time next year, but I think it would at least be started by this time next year.
Which is it's a lesser weight than most other ships that we've had.
Do we want to keep reading the questions, or do we want to answer questions in chat as they come up?
Let's finish this up. I'll go back.
Yeah, cool.
Which loaner will be available until the Anvil Hawke is flight ready? The Cutlass Black. See, why didn't
that kind of surprised me. I'm surprised it's not the Gladius. Really surprised.
I'm surprised it's not the Avenger Stalker. No, not the Avenger Stalker. The Warlock. They should have given the Avenger Warlock as the loaner.
That's true too. Yeah, well, it's probably a downgrade, not an upgrade.
That's what they normally do.
The Cutlass is a really one. I could understand the Cutlass. The Gladius or the Warlock, but I can't really understand the Cutlass. That's a weird choice.
It's sort of an
but then
upgrade.
again, for 3.0, that's a good choice.
Yeah. Oh no, no one's going to complain if that's your only ship and you get a Cutlass for 3.0. That's going to keep you tied over.
It feels like the Cutlass is almost made for 3.0, like with the flexibility to go pick cargo up and put because there's not a lot of ships that can pick up cargo that aren't ridiculously large. Because I think the only other one I can think of that can pick up small amount of cargo is the Aurora or the cargo variant of the Hornet, the stock variant.
Well, I don't think they've worked those out yet. It can just, the way I understand it is cargo can be put in through the manifest, but you can't see it physically for the smaller ships. And I think it's Cutlass and those bigger sort of ships that the only few that have a cargo space that is working and functional right at the moment. Okay, is the stated 500 meters per second afterburner speed correct? Oh boy, please. People, flight balance is a work in progress, but let's do this anyway. How will the Hawke stop prospective bounties from simply running away? So is it fast enough to chase people? The Hawke is viewed as an entry-level ship that focuses on being cheap, reliable, and versatile, and may not be able to handle every bounty. Or at least may require a little tactical prowess to pull it off. As flight balance is an endeavor that will continue throughout the development process, the 200 to 500 stats should remain as a good comparison point for the Hawke. Will perform relative to other ships as stated on the ship matrix according to the characteristics of the flight model point in time that it was introduced into the ship pipeline. Remember that as we experiment with the overall flight model to provide a better game experience over time, so too does ship performance adjust alongside it. To be honest, I don't think this has to be the fastest ship in the verse. I mean, like, if you manage to get the jump on someone, that's where your EMP kicks in.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like...
I'm also curious to know how well you can use an EMP as defensively as offensively. So not just stopping someone, but you fire it and then you get the hell out as well. I think. Can you imagine something like? I know this is a really obscure thing to say because it probably won't be the case. But imagine if the defender had one. So it EMPs, so the merchantman can get away.
Yep. Well, it does. It comes with EMP missiles. So it definitely does have that capability.
Probably is kind of cool in a way because that means you can take them out without taking yourself out.
Well, I see the Defender more as a defensive ship anyway. It's like it's not really
again with the shield. With the shields, if it hangs around, it's going to get picked off. Where if it takes you out fairly quickly and then moves on.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know personally. I'm getting messages from Snake.
Oh dear.
So if you're wondering what I'm doing. I know it'll, if we bring him in live, it means I'll go up to the top and he'll be down the bottom, so we might have to quickly disconnect and reconnect to do that quickly, but that's I know there was a couple of people in chat before that wanted questions answered by Snake, so I don't know. Depends how much trouble and work it is. How many questions we got left?
We've got a lot of questions left. You don't want to just bring them in? Let's bring them in.
As long as you don't mind unshuffle live. He's still got to install... He's still got to install Skype.
Never mind then, Snake.
Well, how about we just bring him in his voice? Could we do that? Just bring him in his voice?
Is that what he wants?
I don't know. Hang on. I'm going to see if I can
I'm going to ask the next question.
Yeah, do that and I'll talk to him.
Is the prisoner storage in the aft of the Hawke being designed for just a single seat, or will it be able to hold multiple bounties as the cells in the Avenger Stalker do? The Hawke's containment pod accommodates one prisoner. Yeah, look, if you leave two prisoners in a very small and cramped space, then they sort of. Well, there's a reason. Yeah, I won't go there. This is an anvil ship, but it is still a light fighter. The class of ship relies on speed to survive and win fights. Since it's already stated to be slower than the Gladius, what other points make this ship a viable choice over it, since the Gladius got S3 buff?
Well, EMP,
and they just upped the weapon sizes to something crazy better than the Gladius and armor? Like, yeah, well, they already answered this question, but let's go through it. Every ship has its purpose. The Hawke is a light fighter with a bounty hunting features. There are some missions for which a Hawke is suited that a Gladius isn't. Even considering their different mission profiles, however, the Hawke has an EMP device, which will play better in certain situations than a limited loadout of missiles, perhaps especially in bounty hunting. And it also has comparable shielding to and better armor protection than the Gladius. Remember too the benefits of armor protection versus shielding against different types of weapons, although of course one prefers not to get hit. When you do get hit, sometimes you really want that armor. And, you know, I'm surprised they didn't talk about the buff and the weapons. Like, it's almost as if they didn't understand that they told the wrong stats.
Yeah, from their point of view, it was always that. That's why they haven't seen it as a buff. But we've kind of like, oh, it's a buff.
Yeah, it completely changes perceptions.
Again, it feels like another rock, paper, scissors mechanic. So the Gladius has this, and that's scissors, and this has this, so it's rock, and this has this, so it's paper. It really feels similar to what we're seeing up at the top end with the Defender, the Saber, and the Hornet. This is just the light fighter variant.
Yep. I do agree.
Yep. What? Do you want me to read this one?
Sure. What
is the in-atmo airspeed velocity of the unladen Hawke? African or European? Oh God! In all seriousness, having the this feels like it's been answered by Disco. Anyway, the prisoner in the holding pod will not noticeably impact the airspeed or velocity. Under the latest flight model in testing, at 1 atmosphere and neutral conditions, the flight speed would be around 165 ms with a maximum safe speed of 339 ms, which puts that on par. I think the the Cutlass goes 330. So that's interesting.
No, because they told us how fast it went before in space. It was almost 600 meters per second, I think.
No, I meant in atmo. In atmo, the Cutlass currently in the PTU goes 330 max speed in atmo. So that puts this ship on par with the Cutlass. That might explain why they've given the Cutlass. This might have similar maneuverability to a Cutlass.
It's interesting they talk about one atmospheric flight compared to space flight, because as we know in 3.0 the space flight and afterburner speeds have jumped up considerably all of a sudden, and of course they've realized that they can still have the World War II and space close battles and slow speeds in atmosphere now, and in space they could just have the faster variant. And so I think it's interesting. I made these predictions a long time ago that they would have to rebalance, and it's nice to see that they have, or it seems to be heading that direction.
I'd rather see more slow movement with lots of warping personally, but that's just me. I think they need to find a real good middle ground between where they've had the two streams. Like they've had the fighting way too slow, and I think they've also had it way too fast where you're trying to continually. And at the moment, I don't know if you've noticed it, but when you play with a mouse, that control area at the moment is so tiny, it's ridiculous. It's pushed the sensitivity up really high.
What is it? PSP, USB? There's the auto aim function. Like if you hover over the pips there, then it auto aims and adjusts a little bit so you can hit the target. That was disabled for a long time. I'm not sure if they fixed it yet or if it's fixed now.
It's just I almost think they've done it deliberately to make joysticks feel more awesome, because it's now even harder to fly a ship with mouse than it was before. It was really good before. Now it's kind of shit, personally.
It's a work in progress. They're not really focusing on the flight model now. If you notice, there's the bugs and stability and the basic features. That's the priority for COG. And flight balance, unfortunately, is something they can focus on later. What was the question again? Yeah, it's a fair question.
The airspeed of the Hawke.
Yeah, I found it interesting doing that comparison. Hey, moving on to the next question. Why make a bounty hunter ship with no interior? Oh, you want your bang slang, huh? And your bounty hunting ship with an EMP? Jeez. Got to have it all, right?
I think he's kind of looking at... whoever asked this question is kind of looking at that Avenger going, I want more pods in the back. I just don't want one pod.
I guess, but, bounty hunting one target. And you got to think.
All right, I'm going to read the answer.
Transversible interiors in general make ship considerably larger. something you've had the opportunity to witness in the development histories of some of the other ships. Larger surface area and internal volume can in turn translate to higher mass. See huge large link, which I'm not going to read out, for info on how the effects or ship mass derivations, which quickly runs counter to the Hawke's design aim of a light fighter with a small landing footprint. Without an interior, the Hawke can run lighter, cheaper, and be more nimble, instead of supports and reinforcements to shore up against the structural weakness of a large empty spaces. Relative to the size of the ship.
I just want to stop you right there. In realism terms, if it was solid, therefore it actually has more mass, not less. It's like what Haze was saying about with the hammerhead earlier, where it's closed is actually less weight than more. Because if it's solid engine parts, that's way heavier.
That weird reasoning that they have here? Like, it works in this case, but when the hammerhead, they say it has the opposite effect?
What it is it's how the game engine works it out. That's what it is. It's actually a game development thing. So it's obviously worked out on surface area of the internals, and because there's no surface area, because it's just sealed off.
Game development, but not actual rational logic sense. You know?
Yeah, and unfortunately, when you're talking about a game that's got lots of statistics, that's probably not the best idea. Anyway, continue. Sorry for me interrupting.
Large empty spaces relative to the size of the ship. Those materials are more uniformly dedicated to keeping components and resource pipes firmly in place, making them more dense. This also benefits to the lone wolf nature of a player who only wants to pilot a single-seater bounty hunter ship. Well, I gotta argue against that. Like, who says you can't take a Cutlass solo? You know, it's just...
We know you can slave the turret now too.
Yeah, like... sometimes they just put these answers together because they think it sounds like it's answered the question. But...
It's interesting too that all the bounty hunting ships are on the smaller scale. So you've got your Avenger, you've got your the Hawke, and you've got your Cutlass Blue, and that's it.
Yeah,
I'm surprised we haven't seen like a large prison ship for prison transportation or something like that.
Technically, the Polaris has a brig if you wanted high-profile bounties.
890 jump VIP prisoners.
Yeah, that's right. It's just get them high on crack and cocaine and strippers, and they won't try to escape. You know, they're too busy.
Ooh, excuse me. All right, I think this is the last question, isn't it?
Yes, a lucky number last.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read it?
Yeah, go for it.
What are the current dimensions for the Hawke? The current stats are 17 meters long, 22 meters wide, and 6.5 meters tall. An interesting stat there, because that actually makes it too tall for the Polaris. Anyway, it's important to note that the ship in its white box, and these dimensions may change, is more through the production pipeline.
I don't know. I think a Saber is like 7 meters. Let me go find out.
I don't know about the height, but I'm telling you now, the maximum height of the Polaris is 6 meters. And I know the Saber and the Defender are shorter than that. The Saber is only 4 meters, so that actually makes this ship taller than the Saber, which is kind of interesting. On another note, I think we were just joined by Snake. Are you there, buddy?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we had a couple of questions in chat previously from people that wanted to hear from you, specifically engineering-wise on the Hammerhead.
Just wait a sec. I have a lot to say about the current stats. Like 17 by 22 wide it's a very small and condensed sort of a ship. Similar to how the Mustangs and the Aoras are. I mean, normally Superiority Fighters are much wider and longer.
Yeah, I think that would be it unfolded too. So I know this one folds up quite extensively.
Yeah, so like sticking this into especially lengthwise, you might be able to fit quite a few of these in compared to fit in places that other Superiority Fighters can't.
Kevin G, they actually answered that question in the Q&A, which is what we're reading from, and it cannot fit in the Carrick.
What are we talking about? Oh, I'm sorry.
This is talking about Q&A, Snake. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome. Yeah, all the things that I haven't looked at. Awesome.
Mm. Yeah, your mic is particularly terrible, just FYI.
You're on your mobile phone, aren't you?
No. Does it sound like it? Oh.
Yeah, it really does. No, I think you can be Kevin G says they say it may not. Look, I'm pretty sure it won't, Kevin G, because it's they said only snubs will fit in there. This is not a snub; it's a light fighter. And go look at any of the ships from one ship to the other. Say the Saber next to the Merlin, and there's a drastic size difference. You can almost have 2 Merlins for 1 Saber. All right, so now he's gone again. So we were waiting for him to come on to answer some questions for people, but I don't know if we've even got him on Skype yet. So
yeah. But let's talk about the Hawke then. I mean, this ship has changed considerably. Like, I mean, this is a completely different ball game. This ship is not what it was originally. In my eyes, this is. I better get a $5 CC from this. How do I do that? $190? Oh yeah, $5 off the Warlock, or maybe there's some other one I gotta think of. Something always available.
If you destroy it, Kevin, you can just put all the destroyed pieces in the cargo bay. So yeah, technically it'll fit. Look, if anyone's got any questions specifically about the Hawks or even statements, chuck them in chat now, because this is the time. This is where we kind of interact with you guys. We've gone through everything. I know we have a few questions there already. Do you want to start reading some of the questions, Haze?
Oh, I suppose I could. To be fair, let's start from the beginning.
Does that mean we have to go right back to the ones that were on the Hammerhead one as well?
I guess, yeah. I can't tell the difference.
Snake, we've got it set up for you to jump onto Skype. Can you get on yet or not?
I'll have to install Skype first.
Oh, you were slack. I told you that like half an hour ago, man.
I know you did. I've been finagling with my 16/24 cores. I can't help myself.
You gotta stop playing with your girlfriend. You're just too busy.
Okay. Ty Condero asks, question, talking about the Defender, would you expect that the armor can still be upgraded aftermarket? I hope so.
That'd be actually cool, actually. Especially being Banu.
I hope all ships can upgrade their armor. You know, I think that makes sense. You know, maybe ballistic paint or something. I have no idea.
If it's a component, you know, like, can you swap a component out? But I don't know. I do know I've seen pictures of the old Hornet where it actually had like these hexagon things. Did you ever see the hexagon tiles on it?
Yeah. In the past, they've talked about upgrading armor to ships a long time ago. This is, you know, before this game was a feature creep monster. But, yeah, literally. So, you know, it's a maybe. That, you know. Bennett Gross. Yeah, you want to go?
No, I was just gonna say I hope everything you said comes true, because I think that would be a cool thing if we can modify them a little bit more. The more modifiable and customized the game is in general, the more fun it's gonna be, I think. As long as it's not too OP like the Kraken.
Bennett Gross asks, do you feel like this sale is a ploy by CIG to try to get some money out of guys who are only own an Avenger per se? I think they're thinking a little more broadly than that. I think they want a little more money from everyone, not just Avenger owners. But I have to say the Hawke is very well placed for an upgrade for a Avenger Warlock. That's a $5 CCU.
Just to fill you in a little bit there, Snake, with the Q&A, it kind of got a buff in a weird way. It's almost put it up slightly in top above a Gladius now.
Yeah, it's a 4 size 2 weapons and 2 size 1 apparently.
And we even did talk to you, but you're obviously watching the stream. It's really going to be a competitor to your Raven now.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I'm not shitting you, dude. Like, it's only got 1 EMP, but it's as powerful as the one that you've got on your Raven, and it's almost got more powerful guns than.
Yeah, it's got more firepower.
Actually, it does have more powerful guns than your Raven, because your Raven's only got 2 guns.
Yeah, what's with that? They're going to fix that eventually, I hope.
So we're going to get. I reckon we should buy a bunch of these and give them away to people that we know that hate Snake, and they can just go after his Raven.
I gotta buy some CCUs after this stream.
I'm going to be buying at least one. I've got an Avenger for my brother, and Avenger Stalker, and he's into he wants to do bounty hunting. So I think I might possibly pick him one up, but it's $30. Do I want to give him $30?
Well, if he's got an Avenger,
how much do I love him? Might give it to him for Christmas.
It's only $5. It isn't Avenger it's Stalker. Yeah, $30.
Yeah, so it's $30. It goes from 60 to 90.
Still, that's a tempting upgrade to go from a Stalker to the Hawke. It's like,
yeah, I was almost thinking going. I'll talk to you about that later. Actually, I'll tell you.
Mm.
Next question, mate.
Tricky 2100 asks, for the hammerhead, if an aura is 20,000 UEC in game, how much would a hammerhead in game, and how long would it take for a solo player to buy one?
Oh, that's a hard question.
No, I can answer this.
But I could
You could probably do it with math, but the only one they've ever given us is how long it would take to own a constellation from the ship underneath it, which at the time was the Freelancer, and that was 60 hours. So, are you talking about going from an Aurora straight to a hammerhead? Fucking forever.
Well, if you say 60 hours, then perhaps 4 to 5 times a constellation would be my guess. But that's a lot of hours. That's like
you're asking about a question that's going to get rebalanced too. Like, look at how many times
240 to 300 hours worth of gameplay time. That's
and to look at it in perspective, they've rebalanced the flight model. They're definitely going to rebalance the economic model. So that's not something that I don't think any of us can safely answer that.
The good news is the hammerhead is going to be one of those readily attainable ships by people who do want to work their ass off. They will be able to get these ships. They will be a very common ship in the verse, I would say, as people will find them highly valuable and will want to earn these quickly so that they can increase their force projection and better defend their assets and fleets. And this will be popular, and people will readily earn it.
Rock, paper, scissors mechanic. You're going to have your ships doing economy, and then you're going to have your defender weapons platform and your fighters, and they're all going to cover and work with each other. So while these guys are running the profit, you guys are protecting their butts.
You got to think of this in perspective, though. If it takes 240 to 300 hours to earn a hammerhead, what does it cost to earn a Polaris? I would say 3 times that much. This ship is 3 times as massive, has more expensive dedicated equipment. This is going to take 900 hours by that logic. Maybe not that much, but it's going to be painful in comparison.
They've actually said the bigger a ship is, the longer the slider slides. Like it scales more. So you might say 3 because of its mass, but it might actually be 5 times. Yeah, and then an Idris, because it's double a Polaris, might actually be 10 times.
I fully believe that, because the bigger ships are more discounted to what you're actually paying to what you're actually getting. And so, like, you say, but there's only $100 between a Hammerhead and Polaris. No, but you're getting that much more bang for your buck on a Polaris to how much it's going to cost in game compared to a Hammerhead. Yeah. I can guarantee that.
So these things we've just gone over about this ship is the same reason we keep recommending don't buy anything at $150, because it'll most likely become redundant, and it really kind of doesn't deserve the LTI token, because if you've got to pick...
It's okay if you've got, just 1 or 2 of these ships, but if you've got, like, 5 or 6, you're better served by consolidating.
If you had 3 ships that was worth a constellation, I'd still say you're better off to buy the constellation, because again, the bigger you go, the more money you're going to save. And to put into practice, I melted a lot of ships during this sale and turned them into a Polaris and a Hammerhead, and I actually gave up things like a constellation, a Caterpillar, and a Warden. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're crazy! They're awesome ships, blah blah blah." But again, if I've got the Hammerhead and I've got the Polaris, I can use those with industrial ships that I already own to earn the ships very quickly. Smaller things are going to be easier to earn than a big thing.
I hate to tell you, a Warden will probably only take you a week and a half. It's not going to, and in your free time outside of your job. While a constellation, did you say 60 hours? Really?
Yeah, that's what he said. And he's repeated it a second time. He said it way back in the beginning, and then about 3 years later, he said it again. But realistically,
60 game hours.
Yeah, I somehow don't see the Warden taking as long to earn as a
constellation.
No, I just don't see it. Maybe Freelancer-ish. So let's say
maybe
30,
you could say
20,
double the
hours.
Freelancer. I don't see the Freelancer costing a huge amount of money. Or time, for that matter, That's like the first ship move past when they get from starter, then you go on to Cutlass Freelancer level. That's the next jump.
Yeah. Kenny goes, but my 17 Dragonflies. Another thing, vehicles, in my opinion, I've got rid of almost all my vehicles because they are going to be so cheap to earn in the verse.
I only have land vehicles because I want to play on them in 3.0 while we wait for release. But I guarantee you, I will either CCU or melt all of them before release.
I really liked the Dragonfly, but I couldn't kind of justify keeping it because there was no added extra to it. But what I did with things like my X1 Force, I turned that into a Super Hornet, and it's still got the Scarlet skin on it. And so when I eventually turned the Super Hornet into the Defender, I'll still have a Scarlet skin when I go in the game. So I'll have this kind of exclusive item. But the only vehicle I kept was my Tumbril Cyclone, because you can't turn that into anything, and again, it's got an exclusive skin.
Gecko asked the person who we shall not name in chat, in case you want to read it. Look, this guy is just a predatory type of person who wants to bang his own drum and cause as much pain, suffering, and hurt to a project. For some reason, he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, because he wants people to. He sounds like he's jealous, and he sounds like almost the opposite of a fanboy, where you get some people on the forums that are really passionate about the game and defend it. He's the other way. He actually enjoys bashing it.
Yeah, he gets his jollies out of bashing the project and having other people misled and try to misunderstand through his own actions and that. He gets his jollies from that, and that's about as far as I see this person. I don't see him. He's someone I would even want to, go out to lunch with or, meet in person. It's like, it's a bit of a, when you meet someone and they sort of disgust you, and you don't even want to be in their presence. That's sort of where I see someone like that.
He's using cheap tactics to try and pull people onto his side to play his game instead. All you have to do is spend 5 minutes and go look at the games that he's tried to develop, and you will realize he is not worth a fraction of your time. He is he's just. I actually get frustrated. He keeps coming back up. No, I really don't.
Yeah.
Bennett Gross stated, "I need my Cyclone Scout so I can pay to win my land claims."
Oh, God, good on you.
Just with those beacons on the reconnaissance model, I can actually see you doing that. That's quite funny.
Yeah, you cargo module, and you got like your 6 land cam beacons in the back. Yeah, this guy's got it made.
It's probably the same thing. I'd actually recommend now don't hold on to any of the extras for the Cyclone, because they've stated it's modular, so there's no point.
Speaking you can buy again. Where is the land claim Q&A?
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe it'll come out later, because they did come out one after the other today. So we might even need to a quick look on the website and see if there's actually anything came out for.
Yeah, check that quickly, because I have a sneaking feeling that the PR they got out of that, they might just want to shut up.
Yep. There's nothing.
Land claims for the win. Land claims for the win.
It's like where's the land claim Q&A? Crickets. Shh.
It's interesting too, because the sale is technically ended and they're still for sale.
Kevin G asks, "Where's the Carrick Q&A?" I looked and could not find one. The Carrick was one of those really, really, really first early concepts before Q&As were a thing. Am I correct, or am I
it was. I'm actually gonna Google it, and I'll get you the Q&A now, and you can go back and read the original Q&A.
For Snake. Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Skype's not going to happen right now, unfortunately.
Why, you can't Skype?
The Supreme Leader asks, what do you hope the pocket carrier looks like? We covered this. We don't really like pocket carrier.
Why don't you like pocket carrier?
Oh, sorry. There is no
hot pocket.
There is no Q&A for the Carrick because it was pitched before the whole series.
Yes.
So they never ever did one. All right, sorry.
That's all right. But I don't know. The whole Drake Carrier Kraken debacle is sort of like
you're not talking about the term pocket carrier. You're talking about the Drake pocket carrier. Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Look, is that the question you just read?
If they could tame down that ship a little more, so it wasn't an everything ship, I'd fully support it.
Is that what was the question? Sorry, because I missed the question.
What do you guys hope the pocket carrier looks like?
I hope it looks like the Starlifter.
Yeah, like a bigger version of the Starlifter, like just to carry shifts, like you get those trucks that carry cars. It moves shit from A to B, and I think that's perfect.
And I can see it having multiple roles, not just carrying ships. It could also carry cargo pods, like it could lift them out of the Carrick and stuff like that.
Oh, Bennett Cross says, there is a Q&A for land claims. You're talking about that one they put out at the first bit before they answered the questions?
They were meant to be doing another one, Bennett. It's not there. And I do find it interesting, though, that they're still selling the land claims.
He gave a link. See if it's the new one.
Oh,
if it's the old one.
I can't copy paste it like you can, man. So
I'll keep answering questions. We'll come to it eventually.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea when the Hawke is coming out? We sort of answered this before. Maybe 12 months we might see them working on it. Which is that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and their reasoning for that is literally just to quickly go back over it. We know they're about to finish up the Terrapin. They've started internal work. Again, this is a ship that doesn't need internal work, and they're working on the Carrick. I can fully see them doing this alongside the Carrick, and therefore they'll come out, like the Carrick's due out before mid next year. I can see them doing this. Why not? Same place, do 2 for 1 sale. Two birds, one stone analogy, and get this out around the same time. We saw the same thing with the Buccaneer and the Caterpillar, to give you an example.
Okay, Gecko asks, how do you guys want to see CIG pull off atmospheric flight? I want planets with thick atmospheres, THICC. Snake, do you have what do you want to say about that?
If they're going to, I mean, absolutely. I'm assuming planets like Terra and basically Earth, like what you would say, are they're probably am I answering this correctly?
No, I'm just
listening. And slightly not.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. I'll repeat the question. How do you want to see CIG pull off atmospheric flight?
Oh, they better make it fucking realistic, but obviously at the same time, don't forget it's a game. They've announced that like there's realistic and then there's having fun, and you kind of want to get in the middle of that. You know what I mean? You don't want it too damn realistic. But yeah, I think they'll definitely be pulling that off. I mean, it's not really that difficult of a concept to hold. They just, increase the values and everything. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like these moons that we're going in, because obviously if it's a moon, it's supposed to most likely have a lower sort of gravity, a thinner atmosphere. So I feel like right now the systems or what we're getting affected by is a little bit too much, and they should dial it down a little bit. That's my 2 cents.
Really? Dial it down.
I think they should.
I think the moons already have different atmospheric effects. Like if you go to Daymar, you get you get that red plume as you go into the planet. You don't get it on
the thicker atmosphere, yes. But it's a moon still.
You don't get it on Yella, and you don't get it on Selene. But then again, when you pick up speed on, I can't remember which planet it is, but there's one planet when you get to full max speed, it's like it actually starts steering you off from where you're aiming. Like and I don't mean just like randomly all over the place, but still keeps going forward. It literally changes like if you leave it, it could go up into space, it could go down to the ground. Like it means you have to sit there and control it to keep control. Which is kind of interesting.
The only thing I've seen, honestly, affected by the quote-unquote thickness of the atmosphere is the safe speed. There are some planets where you can be close, you'd be about, I'd say, 100 feet, maybe to 1,000 meters off the ground. I know I just totally used metric and standard. Makes it like it's and anyway, and it says safe speed is like 3,442 or 40 something. And then I think it's Daymar where it's like it's 300. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna pipe along down here. And then I tried to imitate the freaking thing where CIG was flying through the canyon. And I don't know, confirm me if I'm wrong, but were they flying at like 10, 20 meters a second? Someone said something like that, because I was trying to fly at 200. And I was like, this is bull crap. I can't turn like they do. I was hoping you'd correct me, but okay.
No, I kind of rely on your knowledge there a bit more than what we have. Have you found? Look, go ahead.
Personally, I really want to see them implement lift and drag, and so when you have truly spaceships that have aerodynamic designs, that the ailerons and the tails and all that stuff actually they fly like a plane, and then when you have ships like an Aeora, it flies like a brick, because it entirely relies on the downward thrust from its VTOL-based systems in order to maintain itself. So in other words, one is a horrible experience in atmosphere, well, an okay, and one feels like a bird.
You can almost imagine that either it's going to be getting obviously, because if it's going to have the camber basically sort of design on the wings, like obviously like a Gladius or a Sabers, obviously something with not a wing but a cambered wing, which means it creates more that upward lift. I'm wondering if it's assisted with those engines, like would it be able to pitch up a lot quicker, or they'll save fuel.
Yeah, that's another thought, I think. Yeah, but the thing is, they don't have lift implemented in game whatsoever right now. It's not part of their flight model. They got drag, but that might be it.
They might add in at a later date.
I hope they do.
Planetary
I'm pretty sure
is
they
fairly
will.
new. I think it is something we'll definitely see. I come at it from 2 points, and this is kind of hard way. I like the idea of the lift, but then I look at it also as futuristic and go, could there be some kind of anti-grav thing on the ships that they've never mentioned? But then when you do that, it would make it so every ship is kind of similar. Or
well, I'd expect a Xi'an ship to take advantage of an anti-grav system, but then a Gladius? No, it's going to have an aerodynamic response. It'll be 2 different ships.
Yeah, it's like I said, I kind of agree with the Aurora should pretty much be a brick and only be able to VTOL land. Like, once it gets in atmosphere, it just starts falling, and you've got to actually turn the ship to
counter.
Stop it. Yeah, to counter. And so you want to fly around the atmosphere before you get in. And that the other question that kind of lands to is, do we want to have angles of entry, or is every ship capable of re-entry? And I think you'd probably have to say all ships capable of re-entry, because it's going to be
I think they really need to dumb down re-entry angles and stuff like that to make it more fun. I'm not expecting to have amazing physics and stuff like that, but where there's a high chance for failure on re-entry because you've got the angle wrong. But I fully expect a flight model that feels like a plane or a bird, as opposed to a brick, as opposed to a grav-based system like a Xi'an ship. It's a
and you can come up with law reasons for why that would work and why it would not. So, and to give an example, say an Aurora that's coming in and Aurora that's coming in that's busted into pieces, but the busted one will burn up, and it could be all ships are coated in some kind of special resistant paint. And so when it breaks, it opens up the seams to parts that haven't been painted, and so the whole thing burns up.
Yeah, I think it should be possible to go in too fast, and so always give them the option to go down in a big fireball if they choose.
Not make it totally realistic where literally you have to come at the right angle, but again, like you said, like you can't come too fast, but you can't come too slow, because technically you can still bounce off the fucking atmosphere. That's actually a thing as well.
I still
I'd love to give them the ability so that you can choose to bounce off that atmosphere if you over exaggerate the angle to get it right. I'd love that as a feature, because you might be able to.
The angle thing though, that seems too realistic. I understand the speed thing, but not the angle.
I'd like to see a mode of I don't know how to put it, but I want more warp points around the planet. At the moment, I'm hating the fact that most of the ships go around about 1,000, and then you look at it and go, oh, it's 300 kilometers away. Oh, that's going to take me 5 minutes to fly there.
I think eventually,
I think that's fine.
They'll eventually be just a guide, but you could point it in a direction, say I want to be here, and then quantum in that direction. You're just not sure if you're close to anything of importance.
Yeah. And say I want to jump 100. I want to do 100 meter.
Yeah,
exactly. 100
kilometer
warp.
Yeah,
yeah. That wouldn't be so bad. And then if you accidentally go into atmosphere, it kills you.
Hopefully the computer can figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's gonna be systems that say, "Oh, obstacle or atmosphere warning." You know what I mean? That would be cool, because I've seen stuff like that. It's almost like the interdiction stuff, or it's like in your path, something like an asteroid, something happens to go up in your way, and it gives you that warning, like, what would you call it?
A warning, you're about to walk into atmosphere. Are you sure you want to do this? This could result in loss of life and spaceship.
And then in a Drake
and a red light,
Drake ship just goes, warning, you're melting like a marshmallow, warning. And the whole ship glows red.
It lets you do it. Unlike the other ships that stop you have the safety features, it actually lets you do it.
You're about to be a human kebab. Can we find those two questions that were tailored at Snake from the Hammerhead thing? Because
well, you got to go through them sequentially. I'll lose my order.
All right. Yes, Mr. Librarian.
Gecko asks, and we answered this one. So I will pass that. Okay, Taekwondo asks, since you do not like the Drake Scout Carrier, you must be happy that the Vulture salvage ship beating the other options. However, do you think the Kraken and Corsair will still be made?
We actually said that when we talked about it on our live stream, and the ironic thing was, just as the stream was ending, all the votes went towards the Vulture. Oh, yeah. It was like, have we just shifted the vote by talking about how bad it was? But yeah,
I think it's people who wanted to have a closer look and have a think about it could see clearly that the game really needed a small salvage ship, and probably they realize that they need these ships more, and probably voted with not their wallets but their mouth,
with their intelligence. And it makes me think, I'm really happy because it makes me think most of the
community actually has a brain.
Yeah, they're quite smart, and that's probably why it's such a friendly community too, because we're probably on average an older crowd. Let's be honest.
It's a more mature community.
Yeah.
Just wait until we go closer to release, and then it'll be full of
that's all Call of Duty players will come in.
Yeah, all those will come in.
Yeah. You've actually missed the questions that were for Snake. I know that for a fact because that question was in the Hawke Q&A.
That's it. Haze.
I don't think it was a question. It was they wanted your opinion on something. In regards to the Hammerhead, and it was way.
I'll go
way
back.
back.
It's an awesome.
Let's finish the lineup we've got here first. I'll go back.
Yep.
Emperor Palpatine asks, "Is there now a particular military ship you are waiting for? Since the current list seems fairly comprehensive." Good question. I'll give it to you first, Execute, because I know what I want to talk about.
No, I want you to talk about it because I need to have a think about it.
You're right. I was desperately waiting for a 100-meter military ship, and not a tactical one, more of a gunship, more force projection, more patrol, more supportive type measures, and the Hammerhead hit the nail on the head. It was scoring a home run on what I actually required. What do I think is needed now is probably a 60-meter ship to fill the gap of like e-warfare, like a proper electronic-based hacking, scouting, a heavy scout, essentially.
Can I just ask, like the one Dyson mentioned?
I forget, what did he mention?
You know when he said the Drake one that was kind of like a hacking ship?
Yeah. They need a heavy electronic weapons platform. And it doesn't need to be big, like 100 meters. It'd be something that have a multi-crew ship, 60 meters long, that can do reconnaissance, scouting, maybe interdiction, hacking, data spike missiles, all that sort of stuff for jazz. That's a support ship. We don't have a decent support ship that's other than 30 meter and smaller, like the Drake Herald, like the Sentinel, and we need a larger ship. And it doesn't have to be huge, like a Capital. It doesn't have to 100 meters, but something like a 60-meter ship. And yeah, it may be a counter to EMPs, or maybe it will be an EMP ship itself. We need something like that. That's where I think the military whole has shifted, though I think the lineup now, thanks to the Hammerhead, is very comprehensive. Moving forward, we don't need much.
Currently only got 2 warfare ships, so I kind of agree with that statement. My gap, and this is probably going to trigger Haze, but we'll see. I think it's the mercenary gunship, and I think that's because the Redeemer is also a dropship. I think we need. I don't think we really need. I think we need a drop ship, but not. How do I put this? There are other dropships. So you've basically got the Hoplite. You could even use the Cutlass a little bit like one. You've got the Prowler. You've got the Hammerhead. There are a lot. There are a whole bunch of them. Hell, the Idris can put. Yeah, exactly. There's a whole bunch that can do it, but there is no real
Genesis Starliner?
smaller. Yeah, shut the hell up, Snake. Yeah, no, you're right though. There's no real dedicated smaller gunboat, so it's basically like a smaller version of the Hammerhead, and I think that's why the Hammerhead's been created, because a lot of people ask for it, and obviously there's a gap there. But I think my biggest problem, and we've talked about this a few times with the Redeemer, is I don't think it needs the Marines on it as such. If it can make it like a container that could hold Marines and you could drop it off or whatever, that'd be awesome. But maybe they make variants for it, so maybe there's a dropship variant and just a gunner variant. That could be a way they could go around it. But I do find now the Hammerhead's out, that is a glaringly obvious oversight, that there is no ship designed just to kind of take on fighters, and that's kind of what that ship would be. Is that
Retaliator.
Do you really think that's designed to take on fighters? After today,
it was in the original concept. But I think
anymore. It's kind of designed to take on the Hammerhead after today. They literally said in the Q&A, this thing can kill a Hammerhead. I was like, woo! So, it's interesting. I'd like to see a fight between a Retaliator and a Hammerhead now. That kind of intrigues me. I'm getting off topic
here. Again, like, I mean, if obviously for a Retaliator can supposedly kill Hammerhead with torpedoes, I mean, doesn't that kind of ruin the argument of, oh, what can kill, what's more powerful, Polaris or Hammerhead? You know what I mean? Like, what would win?
Fair,
it's
like, we've already said
we have not really covered how torpedo warfare is actually going to pan out. They haven't really discussed this in great detail, how the relationships of torpedoes, capital ships, and fighters interact with each other. And most they say torpedo kill cap ships. That's the extent of the argument we've seen so far.
They have talked about it in little non-subtle ways. So they have talked about how scanning can work, and if another, say for example, you had a Terrapin with a hammer, and the Terrapin detects the torpedo coming in, it can actually transfer that information to the Hammerhead, or it might even automatically be doing it if you have it set up. They haven't stated how that's going to work, but they said that you're going to...
There's this torpedo totally coming your way.
And so they just blind fire into the black and shoot it. It'll be on their mini-map, or it'll put up a crosshair to say, hey, it's coming from here. You can't shoot it yet, it's too far away. But then if they get all the turrets ready to bear on it, and it's dead.
Well, obviously, like that, it seems like just like in that commercial, like it basically just looked like he had all of them automated turrets. So like, and if it detected an asteroid as an object, then I'm sure, it would detect the torpedo. It had to be at max.
Did you get the Starship Trooper reference in the commercial? The shooting of the asteroids, like that was taken straight from Starship Troopers.
I totally felt that. I was like, yep, I see that.
Do you want to quickly go back through the chat while we answer this question and see if you can find? So, will the MP?
Let's finish the questions first, because we haven't.
Well, I think it's going to take you a while to find it. That's the problem, because it was right back near the start when it wasn't labeled as a question. It was just like, I wish I could ask.
I'll find it after we answer this question here. Okay.
All right. Will there be EMP countermeasures by Tonkodaru? Condoro. Man, I'm terrible with
that.
I think there will be countermeasures to dealing with EMP, but actual countermeasures you eject out to counter an EMP pulse? Probably not.
No, I reckon it'll be something like your avionics, like you know how they said they'll slot it into your ship. That'll give you a quicker startup time or a shielding, but it'll be at the expense of other modules that you can put into your ship. The blades,
or like having two computers and having one a backup standby that's turned off and ready to go. Like, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only way, is by turning off your system. By the way, Haze, I was laughing because it don't sound like the only countermeasure for an EMP is to eject out of your ship.
Actually, there are ships. Doesn't the Saber itself have two
computers,
power plants, or two computers or something for that exact reason?
Two computers. I don't know about the exact reason, but it does have two computers.
Yeah, but that could be why. Disable one and then after EMP quickly enable the other one with the other
components that are electromagnetically shielded. You know, to counter EMPs. So you might be able to get most of your electronics EMP shielded, but then you might lose some other systems. You know, depending how much you want to spend. Anyway, question, Gecko asked, do you think CIG will create planet-side only vehicles? Haven't they already done that? For example, Earth vehicles like cars, planes, and trucks, but in the 30th century for planets like Terra or Earth.
Tell me the last time you saw the Ursa in space.
I totally think they should give it nav thrusters.
Yeah,
actually, have you got that ship scale image that you had on earlier when we were? You know how you had the images up? Can you bring up that ship scale image? Because the Ursa is the only one not in it because you can't go into space. You can't do it. That's fine. But if you go look at there's a YT ship scale image that you'll see quite frequently, and the Ursa is the only thing not in it because it doesn't go into space. He seems to put every other vehicle that can go into space, just not it. So, yeah, there is already land.
Like atmospheric fighters, though.
No, he says ground only vehicles, and the only ground only vehicle at the moment is the Ursa, because all the others operate in space.
What about the second?
And if they do that. It's not in game yet, but yes, you are correct. It probably can't operate in space either. Oh, also the Grey Cat. There's another one. And then if this tank comes out, yeah, that'll be one too. See, I knew it'd take him a long time to find it. He didn't believe me.
Oh.
It was. Okay. I think it was asked by Ty Condiro as well. Ty Condiro, was it you that asked the question about Haze? You wanted to talk to Haze about the because he's the engineer on the Hammerhead. There was something specific about the Hammerhead and the hole. I think it was what it was about.
I can't find that question you think I should be able to find.
Yeah, unfortunately for me to find it. Did the chat reset though when we redid it?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's probably on the other one. So the only other person, if the person that was originally here could ask it again. The other thing we might do is get Snake to go back through and watch the video. And maybe he can answer it, and we'll put it up in the comments on that video.
Snake, there's your homework.
Yeah.
What video am I watching?
So there was a video, we split it because Algrid had to leave, but it was basically, it started out as a speculation video on the hole in the Hammerhead, and then the QA came out while we're doing it, so we did the Q&A as well, but it'll be the latest video on YouTube before this one.
Okay, going back to a question we already answered, because we forgot to answer the actual other half of the question. Taekwondo asks, do you think the Kraken and Corsair will still be made? I totally think that they want more Constellation class ships, and Drake would definitely need to put one out. I can see that totally being a ship, because there is so little jumping points from starter ships to like Freelancer and Constellation size ships. There's like a huge gaping hole where that should be the most common type of ship the players will probably be using. So I definitely think a Corsair will be made. As for the Kraken, maybe in a more toned down form, you know, where it has true limits. Yeah, why not?
I don't like the naming around the Scout carrier, and when I think of carrier, I think of more of a transport carrier. That's what I think they should have named it as. I think the Scout implies lightness, so it's meant to be. It's not very. It's got
more military connotation as well.
When they say Scout, it makes me think that it's just it's unweaponed. And if we look at the other Scouts in the game, like the Xian Scout, they don't have a lot of weapons. So when people are talking about like floating or flying truck stops, I just think that's totally unrealistic. I actually think they need to take the store off it completely. I think it literally just needs to be akin to what I was saying about what those trucks that deliver vehicles to showrooms and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it just needs to be a transport
big spaceship delivery van. It's like
it's a cargo ship that delivers ships. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
I think that's what would be good.
And I passed one of those on the freeway.
If that's what it is, that suits Drake. If it's anything else, it doesn't suit Drake. If it's this flying freaking mega city like that some people have speculated, that doesn't suit Drake at all. And as a capital ship goes, I don't think it would be. I think it would be one of the smaller, so Polaris sized, and it's probably still very exoskeleton-y and light and cheaply crafted because again, it's Drake, and I just don't see Drake making something huge and behemoth. They seem to what's the term we've used before? Form over function, function over form, or whatever.
Yeah, function over form. It's it's cheap, tacky, and it works, but you know it doesn't have to look good. It could look cool, but it won't look fancy. Put it that way. Daniel Tusa asks, when do you believe the medical and research mechanics will enter the game?
That's a lot. Oh man, that's
2019.
I think you possibly see the medical ones first because of the first person stuff. Hey, yeah, actually, technically, we've already got the EpiPen.
Yeah, but you know, proper medical professions where you know, like, I'm so sorry your legs were blown off. Here's some prosthetics.
I think we'll see that first, because of the first-person shooter stuff being in game. I think the research will be later, considering the only 2 ships that supported are the Reliant Sen and the Endeavour.
And I think that's the problem.
I think you know we've talked about the Endeavour last stream, where it's basically this ship that's just
so far out there.
It's got so many different gameplays in it that every module in it is almost like its own ship. So it's going to be one of the last ships to come into the game because it's got to wait for all its modules to be able to be made.
I don't think we're going to see it soon. I think the basic professions like salvage and mining and maybe exploration to a point, and bounty and contracts and cargo, these are the things they're going to want to get in and polished, and then they'll expand out from after they've iterated on those first.
I've heard some speculation from other YouTubers, like I think Board Gamer said that he speculated that he reckons we might see the Prospector with mining in March, April, which if the release comes out, totally possible. I also...
Do you think they'd push out salvage just to make it go through Reclaimer?
Yeah, that's another thing. But mining, it depends how... I think more realistically we'll see mining the patch after that. I think they'll... salvage the patch after that. Yeah, I think they'll kind of stagger the release. I just don't hope they hold on to the Reclaimer for that long, because that kind of annoys me when I don't think they will. And I can fly it. Yeah. But I think that, like, we know by 3.1 you'll be able to earn ships in game, so I think everyone will be able to earn the Prospector and go do mining. Yes. That'll make a lot of sense, because locking gameplay behind a paywall, so to speak, is going to piss a lot of people off. And I also think things like the Orion and some of the bigger ships might even go, here, you can have this as a loaner. You don't reckon that they'll let you have the Prospector as a loaner for the Orion?
Absolutely. I totally believe that's the case. Okay. But my case is, like, I don't think they'll let you buy ships in game anything above a freelancer.
I think they'll very much let you earn the most basic versions. Yes. And maybe as time goes on and we get closer to release, they're going to want people to test the bigger ships, because they need to know they're functioning and working.
But mind you, that's what Avocati's for. Not PU.
And PU. But...
Well, you see that it cuts into their funding.
I don't know.
It eats them from the inside out. I can see a logical reason as a business case to not let people get to the very highest tier of ships through purchasing and grinding it in game.
I think that's also part of the beta stuff. Like, they've said that they've changed the wording on now all upgrades have to be applied before beta, because I think there's going to come a time where testing is going to be trumping earning of money. Yes. And I think that's why they're pushing money so hard now, because they need enough money to carry them through that time where they won't be able to get money from funding anymore, but they're going to be able to make it so people can earn chips in games so they can test them.
But they're probably going to close the
older ones.
Lid on all the old ones.
And it'll be something like, this ship is in concept, it won't be in game for 12 months. You buy it now, you get it when it comes out, or you don't get it at all. Yeah. And then once it goes into game, it'll be earnable by anyone. Sorry, Snake?
Did they say 4.0 would be the stage of beta? I don't know. I have a fairly...
I think you might be correct, but I will not hold myself to that. I can't remember. Let's be honest, it's been a year.
I could totally see that in 18 months, though.
Yeah. Me too.
Jumping. That'd be
Depends
awesome.
how. I think next year. Look, like I know I've kind of said this in previous podcasts. I know I said it in Star Signal, but every year, and I'll go back to what I used to say in Star Signal. I used to say every year is going to be better than the last, and I think, like, so if you think of, well, Haze, how long have you been in Star Citizen?
18 months, coming close to 2 years now.
So you'd say definitely your first year was not as good as this year?
I
or would you say it's about the same?
I was more infatuated with Star Citizen in my first year than my second.
Oh, okay.
But then again, in the second year and going into the third year, I'm now more involved than I ever was before. Because obviously, creating community content and perhaps evolved into leading organization-based events and. With myself and Snake and a number of others doing training. So whilst the initial buzz may have mellowed out a lot more, we're generally much more active in doing things in Star Citizen. So that's
What about you, Snake? How would you say, as your time's got on, you've got more, more cooler information coming out as the game's got more and more developed, or would you agree with Haze? It's kind of staled a bit.
I think it's kind of staled a little bit as that's concerned,
Okay.
but I mean, obviously, you know that all the hype, like even throughout the year, has been for this patch 3.0. So I think like after this, it's gonna go back to just the subtle, whatever.
Sorry.
And I originally came to this with the impression that I liked that they shared so much with the community, but to me, I feel like it has died down where we have to dig a little bit more and we have to speculate a lot more. And then when like shit happens, it's like, really? CIG? Why?
So I've been here since the second day of Kickstarter. So is that 5 years or 6 years? I honestly can't remember. But I've been here since the beginning, right? And I'd have to say, because I know development and I've been here the longer, I'd have to say it has got better and better as time's got along. A really good example is just if I take the anniversary sale itself, it's got better and better. Like initially it was just, 1 or 2 ships every day that they announced for a week. And now like accumulating now, we had this 8 days of ATV that was just freaking awesome. It was information overload. We were able to do shows every day for 8 days. It was crazy. And even little things like if you look at Gamescom started out with a hangar module, and then it went on to just look at this year's without going to every single year's, but it finally showed it had the landing on planets last year, and then this year it had a more polished version of the same thing. I know it took 12 months, but it's definitely an improvement between last year's and this year's. And then a lot of the holiday live streams have been interesting too, because they showed off the first arena commander on one of the holiday live streams, and that was the first time we'd ever really seen any in-game kind of footage. And then this holiday live stream is probably going to be akin to the Morrow Tours, so 2.0. So I always see positives. It's rolling forward. Game development is a really slow process, and unfortunately, when you get a game of this caliber and size, it blows out. I think I've said this before, World of Warcraft, 7 years. This game has a way bigger scope than World of Warcraft, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's not just you. Like, come on.
Yeah. So I might, when I look at the previous year, I go, oh, it's not double the WoW factor, but it's definitely better than the year before. And I think we both know next year is going to be the year of the ships. We know a lot of the big favourites coming. We're going to get things like possibly the Banner Merchantman, the Carrick, 890 Jump. Even it might even kick off with what we see at this holiday live stream. Like, I'm a bit more excited for the holiday live stream than I expected, because I'm expecting to be blown away.
It has to beat last year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to beat last year's holiday live stream.
42 on this holiday.
But remember the first time we watched Planetary Landings at Gamescom, not this year but last, that I got tingles when I watched that. I'm expecting those tingles for Squadron 42 though. That's my hype level. I always try and keep a cap on where I'm at, but I always love it when CIG beat my expectations, and they've done that quite a few times. And usually you don't get that as much as you do. Usually, like, you'll get with most game companies, you'll get one and then it fades. CIG keep re-hyping me, if that makes sense. And I just keep seeing things I've never seen before, and that's, I don't know, I'm enjoying the journey, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I prefer a slow and steady sort of experience as opposed to big hype events and then dying.
Yeah.
Down, so.
The drip fed instead of the... Sorry, Haze? Sorry, Snake?
No, I was going to say that's just unfortunate. That's just the majority of how the community is. I mean, it's not development. It's a game, and they're used to these stupid games like, Unfortunate Stars, Battlefront 2, or these big publishers like EA,
It's better for money raising though too to do it that way, and that's why they do it that way.
Yeah.
That's why they drum up all this hype, and you'll buy off hype. I much prefer the drip fed approach where, like this year where they started the ATV, it's been better news wise this year than any other year, because at least even when the ATV's crappy, it still kind of had at least something.
Earlier in the year, we used to have a crappy ATV, fairly often, but towards the second half of the year,
and then reverse the
we have
verse.
not had a bad ATV. In fact, in the beginning of the year, the happy hours used to be particularly like hit and miss, and like happy hours in the second half of this year have been amazing.
Yeah,
it's like I don't want to miss them anymore. It's like I can't be bothered watching this for an hour, and it's like, oh, what are they doing this week?
I thought it was like I remember the one that they showed, like the third one, and it was the Manchester one. It was like the very first Manchester one of the year, and everyone was like, I want that ATV every day of the week. Like, it was just sometimes so good.
Sometimes the happy hour was better than the ATV. You know, it's like the production quality on the shows like ATV and happy hour have blown away all the previous years. Like, content-wise, being interesting and getting people with something to actually say and do on these shows, it's been really good in the later half of this year compared to what it was like at the very beginning of this year in 2017.
Got a couple of questions there in chat, man. Do you want to...
Yep. Moving on, Gecko asks again, by planet-side only vehicles, I mean like luxury cars and planes of the 30th century, like Ferrari on Terra or Lamborghini on Earth. 2947. Planet only aircraft like 30th century 747. Like, I get where you're saying it would be nice to get some of these vehicles out, but in the short term,
and Breakout.
Yeah, but they want vehicles for in or game, for in a space episodic thing and some planets. They don't want to build civilian vehicles that are just generic. They've got a limited time and a little limited to produce stuff that is meaningful gameplay for us now. And
also look at it from a lore perspective, like in real life. There's a reason why we don't have a lot of customized cars. It's cheaper just to mass produce them, and even if it's slightly too big for what you need, it works out cheaper because it's mass produced.
Maybe you have a whole bunch of cars like in GTA or something like in the future, but that is not a short or medium term goal. That's like after release.
Most of the planets are not going to have roads and shit. They're all going to be like the moon in Crusader. They're going to be kind of like unexplored. So you're going to want more off-road vehicles anyway, like the Ursa and the Cyclone. Yeah.
Taekwondo asks something speculative, but what can we expect from planetary warfare? Could there be massive, and will you be able to obtain terrain from others? Taking claims, maybe.
We did a whole episode on this almost, didn't we? So I'd recommend you go look at that, but we will talk about it still. I think you will be able to steal claims, especially in outlaw space.
Oh yeah, well, it's not a claim at that point, is it? It's your space. You've just set up shop.
Sorry, Snake?
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm really curious if someone puts a house down, could someone claim it out from underneath them? I really want to know if that's possible, because that's going to be so sad.
I think once it's with UEE land claims, no one can steal the claim from you, but you could probably steal their shit. But that would be breaking the law, which might not be. If that's your thing, then that's fine. But
maybe it'll give them a 30-day notice to vacate the premises. Let's say they've got to get the Pioneer, or when we talked about the Starlifter, something to come in and disassemble the house and move it. So maybe there'll be an activation. I've lost the word. What's the word?
Excavate.
No, when they kick someone out of a house, when you get evicted, eviction notice, 30 days eviction notice. That's what I'm thinking of.
No, I think when it's out of I think only in UE space, like it'll be insured, kind of a thing. Like it's written down somewhere that this is your place. So if someone even tries to, it's just like a robbery or burglary. You know what I mean? Like it's insured. You can just get this stuff generally back as long, obviously as long as you don't die, because then you can't get that back. Well, if you're in outlaw space, like I don't know why you would want to use the term lamb claim, because that sounds a little bit more like official, lawful. Like it's just, hey, you can control this much area, like you have that much power to, control. And obviously if you have more firepower, you can control a larger area. You know what I mean?
Let me throw this at you then, Snake. You're in an low secure area of space that's become really popular, and we know that they're going to change things in the game because of lore and players will dictate stuff. So let's say that place becomes really populated, and then all of a sudden the UAE move into that area and claim it and say, hey, now you can make land claims, and someone claims it from underneath you.
I have a feeling I most likely would be fucked. I mean, I can see stuff like that happening in the real world too. So.
I think they'd probably give you a first come, first served basis, as in if you're there, you get a first claim to it. But if you can't actually afford it, they'll make you move out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's what we hope that they would. So like, hey, you're already here. So
If it's UEE
much,
space, maybe it's like you built on UEE land and you didn't pay for it. You know.
I do know in the real world they reclaim
it's
land.
The law. You're breaking the law by building on someone else's land. It's not yours.
Yeah, but there's the wild west scenario where no land is owned, but then when the government moves in, if you have it, that's fine, but they tend to give it to you, and then because you've lived there for a certain amount of time, they give it to you. But the other thing could be is it's like Crown Land where they reclaim it. So, for instance, say you've got a really dense player-run city, they might reclaim buildings in the center of it to put like a big spire or shopping mall type thing there for all the other players to use. And they have done that in real life when they build shopping malls or they build highways. I personally know someone that built a brand new house. It wasn't even 12 months old, and they knocked it down and built a highway straight across it.
Yeah, it happens in Australia too. You have to.
Yeah, that was in Australia. That was where I live, in the same state as I live. So yeah. All right, next question.
I think this will be the last question. Taekwondo asked, personal fun question for Execute. When you backed Star Citizen initially, did you expect the project would succeed?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think I backed on faith, and I'd have to say, as it's gone along, you get these people that were really skeptical at the start, and as it's gone along, you can see as the level that people have not just where they backed, but where they found out about it. If you already knew about it back at the Kickstarter and you didn't back to last week when you saw this PTU stuff, then you were backing more on a proven concept, where back then we just had, it's Chris Roberts, he loves PC games, yeah, I'm going to back this project. That was faith. And I'd played all these games when I was a kid. I hadn't played a single bad one. This guy knew what he was talking about. There hadn't been a really good space team in a really long time. It was faith. It was 100% faith. But it was probably not until a year later that I upgraded that ship to something bigger. And then the other ships started coming out and it all got crazy. But yeah, it was faith. I prayed and hoped it would succeed. Does that kind of make sense to answer your question in short? It was on faith.
As opposed to someone like myself who came in the last 2 years, I was always aware of Star Citizen and the Kickstarter, but never paid too much attention to it. But Star Citizen, up to 2 years ago, had built enough momentum, built enough funds, had acquired enough talent that I could see this is a really big thing, and the people who are responsible for running and driving and making this game are absolutely amazing. And so that I could start to project an image of where this game was going to go. And for me, it was more of a judgment of faith in the team as a whole to produce something that I said, well, this is going to be, I want to play this, and I can see that they have the ability to make good on that. And so for me, it was just suddenly like, I wish I'd paid more attention to this earlier, because whilst I was more skeptical beforehand, it's built up enough momentum that I just could no longer ignore it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like if we back...
Can I just add, mine was faith back then, but it's changed to... It's been validated and kind of proven as time's gone on, and I'm now at the point where I just don't think it can fail. It's too big and too ugly and too much of a juggernaut, and concept's gone to proof, and then proof's now going into the starting of what I would akin to early access that's going to grow into gameplay and into the game. So I've just been validated every step of the way and getting more and more confidence. So yeah, sorry Snake, I just wanted to add that.
I was just going to say, I feel like if you back this game, then obviously you have some faith or hope for it to succeed. That's my opinion. All of us who backed it, like, I'm sure when it goes to point, like, yeah, just in case it makes it. But obviously, like, majority of people do spend more, and it's like they're not sure, they're asking and they're trying to get our money, but it's like they're not forcing us to. And obviously, if we're willing to spend that much money, we have faith for it and we hope for it to succeed. That's just how I feel about it.
It sort of goes to the point where it's like you can see the destination, the direction they're going, and you say, oh my god, this is the game I want to succeed so much, and that brings that faith to it, to the point where yes, I want it to be a thing, and I was sort of, you're voting with your wallet. That's what it comes down. For newer backers more so than older backers, I think they see what they want and they like what they see, and they can see the direction it's going, and it's less of a leap of faith and more of a I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Please make this game.
Well, I saw that with the older folk too, especially when people were putting like, you know, $10,000 to $50,000. It's like, I'm giving you this money, you better make this game.
This is right, you know, but I'm saying there's less of a leap of faith in these days.
No. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. It was faith back then, and now it's like, okay, cool, you've proven it. I'm happy to chuck a lot of money at you. And that's just how people are. And it depends how what's the word, skeptical you are.
I think we're just in an awkward age. Realistically, yeah, but we're in an awkward age where like everyone keeps like, you know, like it's like the person who's succeeding, like if you do a million things right, but if you do one thing wrong, everyone's gonna hear about that wrong thing and know about it. It's like how there is now, where it's like everyone just hears, oh no, the No Man's Sky mistakes, or all these publishers, and obviously now the big title, you know, the issue right now, or no, before it was, you know, Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda, and then now it's the EA thing. It's like all they got, like they're like, you know what, I don't know, should I be
it's also Derek Smart. That's another really good example. We've seen it in our own game.
We shall not name. Yeah. Shame on you.
I'll name him all the time. I don't care. I'm call him out. He's an idiot. Anyway, sorry Snake for interrupting, but I just had to say that because there is an example in this game, and that's him. You know, he fed the fires of doubt, literally.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I think like everybody just so used to getting what they want and getting what they expected, and it's like the minute something goes different, of course, you know, you can't satisfy.
That's why a lot of backers in Star Citizen are more mature aged as opposed to younger age, who demand something now as opposed to they've experienced amazing games in the past and they want something more again. And
yeah, exactly. They see this path.
They see this path here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, games have got too simplified over the years, and if I actually go back and look at games that are more complicated, and the one that comes to mind is Natural Selection, really popular fan base because it was more complicated. And I'm sure you guys can rattle off half a different other games that, you know, they just have more depth because they're more complicated, rather than something like Call of Duty that just becomes I don't mind playing that, by the way, but it just becomes a mindless drone fest after a while because it's just repetition.
It is. I mean, that's like what all arena-based games are, but this one offers every aspect. If you like that, then you got, you know, Star Marine Unit Commander, but if you don't, you got the fucking universe. If you like the campaign, the really interactive, you know, RPG style, then it's like there's Squadron 42.
Okay. Taekwondo says, okay, I guess final question. Yeah, I guess you're the final question. Will the Carrick be able to discover planetary resources? Yes.
I'll say yes, as long as it's got the right scanner, because they've said there's different scanners. So.
Yeah, yes, if they can, like, you can swap out the scanner. Obviously, it's not what it's meant to do, so it's probably a little bit, like, weaker.
Oh,
like,
it's totally what it's meant to do. It's an exploration ship.
Yeah. The Carrick's also a large ship. It might already have multiple different scanners in it.
Yeah,
so
totally. It's exploration.
Yeah, I honestly can't see it not doing that, mate. So, all right, everyone. Well, that's been a really long stream. We did it in 2 parts, but we started at 2:30. It's currently almost 5, so that's almost a 2.5 hour stream.
Oh, you poor baby.
At least we got on Skype, unlike someone we know.
I'm sorry.
So thanks to Algrid for turning up.
Yeah, thank you, Algrid. Sorry you couldn't make it for the other half, which is a shame because he missed the beautiful Hawke Q&A. We're going to have to grill him and get his opinion because I'd really like to know what he thinks because he's very, as we found out today, quite vocal. So thanks for you for turning up for the second half, Snake, as best you could. Hopefully we'll help you get your computer up and running and that won't be an issue from now on. I've been Execute. This is Haze. And upstairs is a funny looking snake. Yeah, there he is. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like on our YouTube channel. If you have questions, you can ask on the YouTube. Or we now have a Discord, which is in the YouTube-based description now.
Yeah, and so a few minutes after this stream, I know I'll be in there. I don't know if Haze has got to go, but I'll try and be in there and answer some questions. If no one's there in the next 15 minutes, then I'll head off. But if you need any more questions answered, I'll be there.
We're not really sure when the next show is, but there is the slim possibility of a Q&A for those land claim beacons, bludgeons.
So we'll see.
So
But,
we will see, because I'm sure that will be a popular episode.
Yep. No worries. All right. We'll
catch
see you guys around.
Boy.
I got all those teacups. Oh my god. Not that bad, but they're pretty bad. Oh my god.
Is it